I think what makes Infamous unique among video games, first and foremost, for me, is the aesthetics of the world. I mean, it's just a very, very different and unique game, right? And that translated directly into how we approached the score for this game. It's a burned out, blown up, destroyed city. So an obvious choice of music style to match the aesthetics of the game would be to maybe not go in an orchestral direction, but think of something that's just a lot more literally gritty. So maybe going after an electronic composer to create a score for it, which is how we ended up working with Amon Tobin, because we had it in our heads about the really sophisticated electronica production that we needed. And he was our top choice, because nobody really does it like Amon does. Like the creative decisions that we made, the aesthetics of the world dictated the production techniques that we were going to apply. A lot of it was just like a bunch of found objects. So one of the goals was to take objects that inherently were non-musical and in some way or fashion form them into something that could be used musical. And then we also did the opposite. We took musical objects and made them non-musical and recreated percussion beds out of them. Everything in this game is custom. Everything was created in there in that studio or out in the real world.
We went to some junkyards. We went to a place where they crush cars and ship the remnants to China. And we did all this field recording. One of my favorite objects in those early field recordings was an old, probably from like the 40s or 50s, pole from a street lamp. And we were putting microphones on either end of it because it was hollow, and then playing little trills, little like rolls and patterns on it with like rubber xylophone mallets. We bought a Chinese zither that's called a guzheng or a zheng. I was cleaning out a room in my house when we were about 3/4 of the way through the project, and I found a big metal shelving unit, and I brought it in here and we suspended it from a rack with bungee cords, and that thing was like a gold mine. I mean, a lot of the sort of ambient mood music that's in the game is just us knocking on this thing and playing it with bows. These kind of low sounds were actually created with a concert bass drum that we stretched bungee cords across, and we actually plucked and we banged on the drum and plucked the bungee cord, and then we weren't quite happy with the sound at that point, so we poured dried beans all over the drum and came up with this sound here by plucking the bungee cord. And then we also had a bunch of trash can lids that we were sort of tapping on and playing with cello bows. So we got these weird scrapey kind of, almost like wounded sounds. We wanted the city to really sound like it was in agony. We did a lot of work with the development team early on to come up with a system that could actually track how intense the fight would feel to a player and translate that into musical terms. So what we have here is we have a piece of combat music that you're hearing sort of with all its elements full volume as written. And we've got here all the elements that the composer had in their piece in stem form. And what we do is we start to group these elements into high, medium, and low intensity elements. And then what we can do is we can fade out, say, the high intensity elements when we want to. And then we've still got medium and low playing, and we can take medium down too. So now you're just hearing the low intensity. And sometimes if a piece of music has like an interesting melody in it or something like that, that melody may sound best in the high intensity section, but we'll put little pieces of it in the low intensity, so when it fades in, it's not a surprise and it doesn't sound out of place. And we were very conscious to work with the music after the fact. We didn't want the composers writing music for this system of technology. We wanted them to just write great music.